Joining me now is David Schoen, a former Trump impeachment lawyer, and Gary Shapley, IRS agent, and Hunter Biden whistleblower. Gary, let's start with you. Despite everything that came out and that Hunter admitted to, you think the DOJ still didn't fully investigate him. What makes you say that?
Yeah, that's correct. So, Hunter Biden was singled out, just like President Biden said yesterday in his letter, and that was for preferential treatment. During the entire investigation, the Department of Justice didn't allow us to follow normal investigative processes that would have potentially led to Joe Biden, and some of it did lead to Joe Biden, as the House and the chairman who engaged in the impeachment inquiry found out. And so when we didn't have those powers and authorities to go after and find all that the Biden family did, it really just hid that from the American people, and ultimately they move into they were going to charge in 2022, and then at the end of 2022 they're not going to charge because two Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys became involved and wouldn't allow David Weiss to charge. He requested special charging authority. He wasn't given it. So then we come forward, Joe Ziegler and I, and all of a sudden Department of Justice is trying to cover it up with a sweetheart plea deal, which of course fell apart. And then when he finally thinks that Hunter Biden is going to face his consequences for the crimes that he committed, President Biden comes in and pardons him. So he was singled out, and it was for preferential treatment all
That's
along.
great. That's a great turn of phrase. Now, we're going to get to David Weiss's statement in just a moment, but David Schoen, some experts are saying that this pardon could actually backfire on Joe Biden. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, there are a couple interesting things about it, but I have to say your intro was awesome, and especially when you consider Joe Biden's statement in giving the pardon when he said, in my entire career, I've always adhered to one simple principle: tell the American people the truth. So anyway, I think that there are at least two elements to this that are very interesting. It could backfire because a broad pardon like this removes the Fifth Amendment right for Hunter Biden, at least with respect to any federal crime. So I would expect you'd see a subpoena potentially from the House or the Senate to inquire about Ukraine activities and all of that sort of thing. Remember, this covers an 11-year period, 10 years and 11 months. But the other part of it is there's a real question whether a broad rather than specific preemptive pardon is valid. Interestingly, the Brookings Institution wrote a piece when they suspected President Trump was going to give broad pardons, and they suggested that it's not valid. In the Nixon case, he was given a broad preemptive pardon, but it was never tested in court. So someone could challenge this. There are a lot of implications to this, but remember, the breadth of this pardon is so great that Hunter Biden literally on November 30th could have sold 10 kilos of heroin, and he's given license now, at least for any federal crime, to avoid any prosecution for that. It's any federal crime he committed or may have committed up until December 1st.
Well, that's a fascinating point about the Fifth Amendment, meaning he has to tell us now what really happened, or he legally is bound to, because he doesn't have that constitutional protection. That is very, very important for everybody to remember tonight. And back to David Weiss, the special counsel in this case, he has come out today against Hunter's case being dismissed with prejudice, saying, quote, "The government does not challenge that defendant has been the recipient of an act of mercy, but that does not mean the grand jury's decision to charge him based on a finding of probable cause should be wiped away as if it never occurred." Gary, he seems to be making your point here, but how significant is it tonight that he comes out and makes that bold statement?
I just believe this is Department of Justice maneuvering to make it look like, they're still in the game and that they're still pursuing, every avenue against Hunter Biden. But they're hopefully when the new administration comes in and the new Attorney General Bondi comes in, they'll be looking into this, maybe appoint a special counsel to investigate this special counsel, because that's what's needed, because the level of malfeasance that occurred at every level, from the Attorney General Merrick Garland to David Weiss to the FBI to IRS leadership, is just quite appalling. And that's why I'm very optimistic moving in with this new administration, with the Department of Government Efficiency, who, like I said earlier, it could literally be born out of my brain.
Yeah, we got to get to the bottom of this. Yeah, we got to get to the bottom of this. And the Ukraine angle we're going to get to later on in the show. But, David, to that point, this could be a David Weiss CYA move, too, could it not be?
Absolutely, and he's really saying nothing. The fact is, Article 2, Section 2 gives the president the right to pardon, but not the right to expunge. Expungement is a judicial remedy. So what he said is accurate, but I think Agent Shapley is correct. It's just a CYA sort of maneuvering. And remember, maybe the most offensive thing of all of this is that this wasn't just an innocent victim, Hunter Biden. It might be a pitiful character, but he tried to take down these agents. The team behind him challenged the credibility of the agents, and they sued people over the laptop and so on. He has a fine lawyer in Abby Lowell, and maybe he was smart in putting off the sentence, because theoretically he's not even a convicted felon because there's been no final judgment entered in the case. So anyway, the interesting academic issues surrounding it, but yeah, it just doesn't look good.
Well, Gary, you were brave in stepping forward, you and your colleague, all that time ago, and we appreciate both of you tonight. Thank you very much.
Roger Marshall and House members Byron Donalds of Florida, and I'm going to say the great Claudia Tenney of New York. There they are. Thanks to all of us. I'm glad you got a laugh out of that. Senator Marshall, I begin with you. There's so many thoughts here. The fact that Biden did this is no big surprise. The fact that he did do it is a rather mendacious lie. But the thing is, Senator Marks, it's interesting to me, the broad scope of this, 2014 to 2016, to 2024, rather. First thing, when I heard that last evening, I said to myself, well, that's an admission of guilt. That's an admission of guilt. All the things that the House has been looking at and the Senate has been looking at, you know, there it is. He's covering 2014 to 2024. In other words, from Burisma on to finance the Biden family crime syndicate. That's the way I look at it. Now, he's going to get off. OK, it's presidential prerogative to do that. But isn't that sort of kind of really what's going on here? That all the things you all have been going after, I think this pardon proves that you were right.
Yep. Yeah, Larry. So certainly the first thing I did when I went back to 2014, what did we all see? The Biden corrupt family, the crime family, involvement with Burisma. Burisma is the key to this, and tracing that money to the big guy, right? How else did the Biden family afford all these wonderful, beautiful homes, living an extravagant lifestyle? It all goes back to this Burisma. So more than just pardoning Hunter Biden, he's trying to prevent any type of further investigation that's going to lead back to him. But that's why our job in the House and the Senate, now we can subpoena Hunter Biden, and he can't take the fifth anymore. So we've got work to do.
Well, Claudia, you know, the thing that always interested me the most, Byron, I'm coming to you, buddy. Don't get lonely out there, but I want to go to Claudia, the great Claudia Tenney, of course. Claudia, the thing about this that's so interesting to me, the tax evasion, okay, the gun charge, you know, he shouldn't have done it. He may have been in the throes of his addiction and so forth, and I'm very happy that he may be 5 years sober. Very happy about that. But tax evasion probably would have, if we'd gone to trial in Los Angeles or whatever it is, Central California, that would have uncovered, I think, all of the influence peddling fees from Burisma, from Russia, from the Ukraine, all the other places. That would have shown, you remember these little LLCs each Biden family member had, and of course it all trickled up to Papa Biden. I mean, I think that's what, they did not want any sort of a trial. They did not want anything to do with tax evasion, because tax evasion would have led them right down the road that actually was happening. That, in fact, it was financed.
Well, exactly, and that's why...
Yeah, go for it.
That's right. Larry, we had the whistleblowers appear in front of the Ways and Means Committee, and they've been out publicly now. They've been trying to condemn them, you know, the government, the IRS, insiders. But remember, this is the thing that's so bad about this Biden situation is it is the most sweeping pardon in history since Nixon. But you could say this. Nixon was charged with the cover-up, not the crime. The Bidens were engaged in the actual crime. They were committing the crime. And the other thing is the U.S. attorney allowed, and the DOJ allowed all this evidence that we're talking about from Burisma that Senator Roger Marshall just mentioned, 2014, 2015, they allowed the statute of limitations to run so that we couldn't even get at the worst of the tax evasion. So you could see where the money was flowing to all these corrupt entities. By the way, every one of them named after the Finger Lakes in my district. But that's another side.
That's a different segment.
Going on. And by the way, yeah. So, interesting though, the U.S. Attorney David Weiss today, just maybe an hour ago, I just grabbed the line out of the brief, just filed a motion to dismiss the request for pardon. So they're going to fight this. They're saying that this is not something that's going to happen. So it's very interesting that that's going to, look, pardons can be as broad as possible. But the scandalous nature of this pardon is like nothing we've ever seen in American history. We have never seen such a corrupt family. And this is why these whistleblowers and everything we've done on the Ways and Means Committee, everything they've done on oversight is really, really important. And I know Byron's going to add a lot of insight to this as well because he serves on that committee.
I want to, Byron, you can put in as much more detail as you want because you're Byron. But here's my other thought, okay? In all seriousness, this mendacious lie, this Biden syndicate, phony, illegal financing and so forth, cries out for a guy like Kash Patel to clean the stables at the FBI, Byron, and also my very dear friend, the wonderful Pam Bondi, to clean out the stables at the Justice Department. And I'm so annoyed at some of my conservative cousins, at least in one newspaper who will go unmentioned here, who think that putting in Kash Patel is, some act of retribution. That couldn't be further from the truth. He, Bondi, John Radcliffe, who's going to do it at CIA, President Trump, who got a mandate to do it. They want to clean out the corruption and get back to a fair administration of justice instead of the awful lawfare weaponization we've had, Byron. That's my thought. This cries out for Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and John Radcliffe, Byron.
Well, Larry, I don't have much to add in terms of detail. It's been covered. But let's be very clear. Hunter Biden avoided paying taxes with money that he earned, quote unquote, because of his dad's involvement at the top of our politics. It was the essence of pay to play. Now Joe Biden is finally coming in to clean up the mess that Hunter Biden created. It's tax evasion. I don't want to hear Democrats lecture us about anybody paying their fair share anymore, Larry, because the president's own son was not paying his fair share. He was evading the taxes. But what does it mean for where we go forward? Kash Patel, you're exactly right. John Radcliffe, Pam Bondi, their job is exceptional right now because they have to clean out the political brass at these agencies. If these agencies are going to survive, as well as the constitutional republic that is the United States of America, our agencies cannot be political. They cannot just be covering up. They have to do their jobs for good or for better or for worse, for everybody in our country. That's the bottom line. The American people want agencies that are doing their job, upholding the Constitution and upholding the rule of law, not picking and choosing when they're going to apply the law, because our country will not survive that. That's why Donald Trump has made these appointments. He has the mandate to do it. He's doing it as we speak, and the people he has chosen are going to do the hard work but necessary work of cleaning out these agencies and restoring them to their former glory.
They made, I'll give you one concrete example. I was, not but it just happened to be, that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Prejudice. Prejudice. Maneuver. Maneuver. malfeasance, malfeasance. Appalling, appalling. Expunge, expunge. Mendacious lie, mendacious lie. Prerogative, prerogative. Extravagant, extravagant. Evasion, evasion. Throws, throws. Syndicate, syndicate.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.